Hi, this is Jennifer Hamlet for EDL 951, Module 13. First is the tort liability. Pretty much anything that your actions cause any kind of consequences to where it may cause injury to others, which is a pretty broad generalization, but a lot of things that we do as far as our school and education, definitely we could be liable for some things. Anytime students are unsupervised, that could definitely make us liable. My first case is Barrett versus USD 259. This is where a football player told his coaches that he did not feel very well. I felt during the court case that the coaches really did listen to him. I really didn't feel like that they pushed him like I know some coaches can do. I'm a coach myself, and it's a very fine line between, I think, pushing the athlete, but yet still, using common sense. It's hard. It's hard. So the student actually ended up dying because of the heat conditions and heat exhaustion. So again, I think to review as far as policy goes, make sure there's signs. You review with your coaches what the signs were for heat exhaustion and heat stroke. Make sure there's plenty of water breaks. I know that Keisha also put in additional requirements for the first 5 days of practice, I believe. So I think covering all those would be a good idea as far as a proactive way of handling the situation. A reactive way, I know as soon as, the child collapsed, call 911, call the parents, make sure, they take care of the child until the emergency professionals can get there. My next one is Johnson versus School District of Millard. A music teacher taught the children the actions to London Bridge is falling down. When they were doing the actions for themselves, they swung the child too aggressively, threw him into a bookcase, and he had to have 50 stitches to his face. The teacher was not watching when this occurred, which is why I believe the teacher would have been liable. Reactive measure, again, teachers immediately called the office. We would immediately call 911, again, contact parents, fill out an accident report, and then definitely investigate exactly what had occurred. And hopefully from there, take a proactive after that. Again, policies, review those, talk about proper supervision, and just remember that ethically, as a staff, that we are committed to keeping our students safe. Next one is Mitchell versus Cedar Rapids Community School District. This is where a special education girl skipped out of school to go to a friend's house. They met up with another boy and she ended up being raped. We're in a very small school, so if a student, especially special ed, was not in class, I would think that we would catch it. But honestly, looking at all these court cases, if a student decided to go to the restroom, they could sneak out and, before we honestly might realize it, I would think it'd be 5-10 minutes before we would catch it. I wouldn't think it'd be 30 minutes, but we get wrapped up in the things that we do. But again, technically the student's not supervised, so we would be liable. On this case, again, I would think, especially if she was a special ed student, that we would realize that she was gone. We'd automatically call the parent for a phone call, and then probably next would be the appropriate authorities. Again, make sure we review policies to teachers and aware of contacting the office if a student is missing. And just talking about that when you're going through roll call at the beginning of the class, I think some teachers don't sometimes put their attendance in until the end of the hour. That's why we really express first part of the hour. So you should have a bell ringer or something, and that's when you should be taking your attendance, asking, hey, is so-and-so here? Are they absent? If they've been there all day and all of a sudden they're not, then that's when we should definitely contact the office. Um, Brahatek versus Millard. I don't know if I said that name right. A student was struck by a golf club in PE class and then died 2 days later. Both the teacher and student teacher were working with other students and not watching all the students. So I think sometimes we do get preoccupied with focusing on one student, and then sometimes we have our back to something, or we step out of the room for just a moment. Well, in that just the moment, it could, major things can happen. And if that occurs without us being in the classroom, we would definitely be liable. The student wasn't conscious after being hit. The first thing, honestly, would be to, again, contact the office, 911, go ahead and start CPR. After the student has the proper medical attention, then investigate again what had occurred. Again, just safety procedures, keep reviewing things, policies, keep expressing that ethically we are there to ensure the safety of our students. Last one is Hoyam versus Manhattan Beach City School District. A student left campus without permission and was struck by a vehicle. This is the one that kind of hit home with me a little bit. We have our middle school and high school kids. They walk back and forth because we have a lot of shared teachers at Linden. And they walk back and forth, honestly, without an adult outside. So at any time, if a vehicle came down 6th Street, even though everything is marked and a student would get struck, we would be liable. If a student, like I said, went to the restroom and decided to take off, they could honestly be at the street and be hit by a vehicle. At any time. This can occur at any school, big or small. If the kid really wants to skip out, they're going to find a way, no matter if we just have, even great supervision. Kids can find the way. So this one kind of hit home because the school was still liable because, again, of poor supervision, which to me is scary. So, because, again, I didn't feel like the school necessarily had poor supervision. The student just skipped out. School wasn't, the other day we had a kid that got off the bus and went to Casey's. We caught them when they came back, but at that brief moment, if anything happened to that child, we're liable because he was already on our campus. So we took the proper measures. So again, review policy, make sure parent contact, and again, try to do some things to the safety of our students. So I think one thing we're going to do is, we do have somebody out there in the morning supervising, but I think we need to have maybe additional people so they can see everybody, not just the crosswalk as they're getting off the bus. Last were just some of the resources that I used to define in some of the court cases and things like that. So again, this kind of hit home a little bit because it truly makes you look around and see how many things could we be liable for in just a day. And it's frightening to think about it. So, but that is my module 13. Have a good night.